Tonight, two separate murders in the capital under active investigations. What police are saying about these latest incidents off the top. Also, bring it on. The Attorney General telling gaming operators who plan to sue government that they will be fought in court. More from the defensive AG coming up. And later, the public-private partnership that's expected to streamline Family Island Airport operations. This is Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News brought to you by Flow Evo, powered by BTC. Flow Evo is here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Candino Knowles. Thanks for joining us off the top tonight. It's the second murder today and the third in less than 24 hours. Police have their hands full tonight as murder after murder since Saturday have all claimed the lives of men. Just moments before this newscast, police reported a double shooting in Fox Hill. One of the victims have died. Our Theo Seeley is live on the scene for us tonight. Theo, what can you tell us so far?
Candino, you are absolutely right. Police have confirmed that it was a double shooting here on Cox Street in Fox Hill this afternoon. Police got the reports shortly after 5 or 6 o'clock this evening that there was an altercation that occurred on Cox Street in Fox Hill. As a result of that altercation, 2 men were shot. We've been made to understand by eyewitness accounts that one of those men were transported to hospital for medical attention, and we can confirm that the other male succumbed to his injuries on the scene. According to our Eyewitness News accounts, this now pushes the country's murder count to 46 for the year. You'll recall that less than 24 hours ago, we were right here in this Fox Hill community on Step Street last night, sometime after 9 p.m. 36-year-old Anthony Bryce was allegedly walking home just footsteps away from his family home when he was approached by a group of men in a dark vehicle. Police tell us that they got into a conversation. At the end of that conversation, they opened fire on Bryce. He subsequently succumbed to his injuries and became the country's 44th homicide for the year. Some 7 hours later, at 4:30 a.m. this morning, police responded to the scene of another homicide, this time at A.F. Adderley School. Police told us this morning that a security guard at that institution was shot dead after an altercation with a group of men. He became the country's 45th murder victim for the year. And now, hours later, on Cox Street, in the Fox Hill community, another man has died. Police held a news conference today assuring the public that Bahamians are safe. We also posed the question to Police Press Liaison Shanta Knowles last night if the Fox Hill community should be in a state of alarm, and she also confirmed that police have beefed up their patrols, especially in the inner city communities, and she said that Bahamians should have no sense of alarm and that they are safe. Residents in this area now question those comments given by police, and we are now waiting for word from police to understand exactly what took place here on Cox Street in Fox Hill that led to the country's murder count now being pushed to 46 for the year. Candino, we will stay here as long as we can, even though it's inclement weather at this time, just so we can be sure to get the details to you as soon as they become available to us. We do know that the officer in charge of the Drug Enforcement Unit, Solomon Cash, as well as Police Press Liaison Shanta Knowles, are both on the scene. We're not sure exactly who will address the media, but we are expecting to hear from them within the hour, and we will provide those details to you as soon as they become available to us.
All right, thanks a lot. We'll get back to you, Theo. But as Theo Seeley, who's reporting for us live tonight from the country's latest homicide, thanks a lot, Theo. But as Theo foreshadowed just a moment ago, there were 2 other murders today, less than 10 hours apart, which were recorded as the country's 44th and 45th murders, with the latter taking place early this morning. As he said earlier, a security officer at the A.F. Adderley Junior High School was shot to death. Police say it was around 4:30 this morning when 2 men approached 65-year-old Errol Williams, who was sitting in his car at the school security booth while on duty. Police say an altercation escalated and led to Williams being shot. EMS personnel were called to the scene where the Pride Estates resident was pronounced dead. Chief Superintendent of Police in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Solomon Cash, telling Eyewitness News that investigators are still tonight searching for clues and additional information that could lead to the arrest of the culprits, not only in this incident, but the last 4 over the past 3 days, which all appear to have different motives.
We suspect the motive behind this may have been armed robbery. The other incidences may have been conflict. But again, all of the investigations are early in the stage, and we'll have to probe further so we'll be able to identify exactly the motive behind all of these incidents.
Chief Superintendent Cash says Bahamians should be concerned about crime, but he says there are some things that residents can do to stay safe.
I would advise citizens as they move about their normal way of life to be cognizant of their surrounding, to look out for suspicious activities and movement of people, and if they see these type suspicious behavior, to contact the police at 911-919.
All right, in the wake of the shooting death of that security guard who is officially identified as 65-year-old Errol Williams of Pride Estates, President of the Bahamas Public Services Union, Kimsley Ferguson, is calling for more resources for security officers, including firearms. Ferguson said given the increase in crime, that includes an increase of theft on school campuses as well, the notion should be revisited.
At some point, the officers at the Ministry of Education were deemed district constables, where they had powers of arrest, the ability to search. And for whatever reason, the government sought to revoke that. But we need to ensure that, one, the persons are properly trained, properly equipped to carry out their assignments, and based on the environment that we now face with regards to violence and the number of break-ins that we are experiencing on the various campuses, we need to look at ensuring that security officers are armed and able to properly defend themselves and secure the properties that they're responsible for.
All right, meantime, investigators are still probing that shooting on Step Street last night, which claimed the life of Anthony Bryce. Theo Seeley was first on the scene.
The screams from distraught family members of the country's 44th murder victim pierced the air Monday night. And police lights flashing against the night sky sent the alarm that something was wrong. 36-year-old Anthony Bryce, affectionately known as Hot Dog, was the victim of a drive-by shooting. He was gunned down just steps away from his family home on Step Street in Fox Hill.
Like a hot dog down there laying down in the road. For what reason? Those guys who shoot him, could they come and explain themselves why they shoot hot dogs? They just pull up on him and just shoot him?
Here's what police say happened.
Shortly after 9 p.m., this male was walking on Step Street in Fox Hill when we are told a dark color vehicle pulled beside him. He had a conversation with the occupants of the vehicle before they shot him and sped away.
Authorities arrived a short time later and found Bryce's lifeless body sprawled in the middle of the street. When one of his sisters arrived on the scene, her heart-wrenching outburst sent the neighborhood into an emotional meltdown. Bryce's demise came on the heels of a triple murder Saturday and the shooting death of a 7-year-old boy last week Tuesday. Yet police say there's no need for fear.
We've started a new operation last week Thursday, so we know that there are lots of officers on the streets who are giving their best to make sure that our communities are safe. We are also asking people not to be fearful, but to speak to us and tell us whatever information they may have that can assist us in solving these matters.
While police assert that there is no need for alarm, residents in Fox Hill aren't buying it. Many of them were inconsolable and baffled as to what led to Bryce's demise.
I don't know about nobody. I don't know why they shoot him. This is too much. It's too much. There's too much killing in this town. This is too much.
Theo Seeley, Eyewitness News.
All right, well, in response to those recent murders, Acting Commissioner of Police Emmerich Seymour holding a press conference today attempting to allay fears that crime is out of control. Francesca Brown tells us the forces plan to keep Bahamians safe.
7 murders in 7 days. Yet Acting Commissioner of Police Emmerich Seymour is adamant that crime is down and Bahamians are safe.
The Bahamas is still a safe place for all. We just ask the members of the public as they go about their daily chores to just be aware of their surroundings. I mean, crime is down. Crime will, once we continue on this trend and trajectory, crime will continue to go down. But that will not happen with the initiatives of the police alone. I indicated earlier that the vast majority of Bahamians are in fact law-abiding citizens. and we need all stakeholders to hold our hands to ensure that we continue along this trend. But we want to show members of the public that they can go about their daily chores. Just please be aware of your surroundings as you do so.
At a press conference at police headquarters, Assistant Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernander also said the recent homicides are isolated events with no connection. However, he warned members of the public to always be on the lookout and never let their guards down.
As you move about your daily chores, as you move and drive home, whether it's a day or nighttime, to pay attention to your surroundings. Be aware and try to be alert as you move. If you see any suspicious vehicle that you are not comfortable with, drive to the nearest police station or drive to an area where there's a number of persons that could assist, and you could reach out to the police and we will assist you in getting home.
Police are also asking for the public's assistance in locating several persons wanted for murder and armed robbery, including 24-year-old Kirby Pierre, who has evaded police capture for nearly 12 months. Police are also looking for 28-year-old Alfred George for murder. This unknown armed robbery suspect, 43-year-old Cordell Smith, and 18-year-old Edward Colbrook for armed robbery, 24-year-old Franklin Dean Jr. in connection with attempted murder. This unknown murder suspect, 25-year-old Perry Pickering, also for murder, and 26-year-old Shelman McKinney. He is wanted for armed robbery. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of these men is asked to contact police at 911 or 919, the Central Detective Unit at 502-9991, or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 328-TIPS. Sancheska Brown, Eyewitness News.
National Security Minister Marvin Dames testifying in the Frank
Seven
Smith
murders.
alleged extortion trial. Today, Smith is on trial for extorting thousands of dollars from Barbara Hanna, whose cleaning company had been given a contract to provide services for the critical care block at Princess Margaret Hospital while Smith was chairman of the Public Hospitals Authority. In his testimony today, Dames was asked by defense lawyer Keith Knight QC why, as the Minister of National Security, would he speak with Barbara Hanna when he could have just referred her to the police immediately. Dames said in his defense he is a public figure and that he cares about each citizen that reaches out to him. It was reported that Dames called Hanna's phone 13 times, which he later told the court were attempted calls. Asked by Knight if he set up a meeting between Hanna and police, Dames said that it was the police's job to set up the meeting. Later testifying was Assistant Commissioner of Police Paul Roll, who was asked by Knight if Dames assisted him in setting up a meeting with Hanna, to which Roll said yes. Knight went on to question why the Minister of National Security would get involved with police interviews. The case is presently ongoing. We are still following that trial. And for more on that, you can visit our website at www.ewnews.com. Well, a war between government and gaming operators is looming as the Bahamas Gaming Operators Association says it will sue the government over its proposed discriminatory tax regime. The Attorney General spoke with reporters outside Cabinet today, saying the government is resolute in its position that Parliament has the right to set taxes and that what is passed in Parliament must be obeyed by all citizens.
If they sue, they'll be fought in court.
That was the promise made by Attorney General Carl Bethel outside Cabinet Tuesday as gaming operators have made clear their intentions to bring suit against the government. The Minnis administration has proposed a new tax regime for the gaming industry that would see the taxation of up to 50% of profits made by operators. It's how this back and forth between the two sides started, and gaming operators are holding steadfast to their claims of discrimination.
This is nothing more than economic profiling, and it's most unfortunate.
That was head of the Bahamas Gaming Operators Association, Gershon Major, who insists the issue comes down to a matter of color. But the Attorney General insists otherwise, echoing the sentiments of Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest, who had earlier shot down the assertion as well. There has also emerged the notion that this form of taxation could lead gaming houses to once again take their operations underground. To that, a very defensive Attorney General said this.
If they go underground, they'll be dug up. We have a whole arsenal of new powers under the Proceeds of Crime Act to deal with persons who decide that they want to break the law. So we're not worried about whether they try and go underground, break the law, or go to court. Our tax rates have been benchmarked against what the standard rates of taxing of gaming in other jurisdictions, both in this region and internationally. you'll notice that nothing they've said attacked that fact.
On that position, Eyewitness News presented the Attorney General with the argument put forth by gaming operators who say the way gaming operations are set up in other jurisdictions differs entirely from the way the local industry is regulated. In particular, the Gaming Association points out that those countries that the government has used as benchmarks have national lotteries. Well, still on the defense and obviously bothered, the Attorney General responded with rolled eyes and a raised voice.
And they also have income tax too, and corporate taxes too. Okay? They also have a host of other taxation that affects gaming operators that we do not have. So, don't argue about apples and oranges. Because if you want to talk about the orange, I can say what affects the orange. We're talking about the Bahamas now, and the effective rate of taxation, never mind in what form it takes, is on par with other jurisdictions. I compared it to the other jurisdictions in terms of the effective rate of taxation, not what the particular tax was here or what the particular tax was there. They would wish to do that and focus only on those taxes that apply where there's a national lottery. But my broader point is that the effective rate of taxation paid by gaming operators in other jurisdictions is no lower than that we propose in the Bahamas.
All right, well, two independent reports from international firms, Christensen Capital Advisors and Oxford Economics, suggest that government used false comparisons and assumptions to justify the tax hike on the industry. The report also suggests that the cost of the tax will not only result in significant job losses, but a large contribution to the local economy. According to President of the Bahamas Gaming Operators Association, Gershon Major, the government has yet to demonstrate to the Bahamian public, Parliament, and the industry the evidence-based data that supports this draconian and highly uncommon hike in taxes on the gaming industry. Major, in a statement, added that the association is not opposed to an increase in taxation, but believes it should be based on consultation, appropriate comparisons, empirical data, and independent expert analysis that is specific to this gaming jurisdiction. A former international regulator and the head of the Bahamas Compliance Association sounding off about the possible threat of blacklisting by the Bahamas should the government increase gaming taxes, forcing patrons to the black market. They're hoping that government would safeguard the financial services sector from any further blacklisting. Clint Watson has this.
If gamers move to the black market to avoid paying a 5% deposit fee, this will cause the underground to expand, placing the Bahamas' financial services sector in harm's way for blacklisting. Former Executive Director of the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, Calvin Wilson, knows too well the danger this poses for the Bahamas, having been in office when we faced sanctions and blacklisting before.
The Bahamas being seen as not adhering to international standards. The Bahamas has a very good, a strong reputation in the region. The gaming sector in the Bahamas does. And I don't think that it's in the interest of the country to do anything that would sort of take away from or militate against that good image. So the warning is the mutual evaluation report signaled certain dangers.
Wilson is suggesting consultation with the industry stakeholders like the gaming community and the government, a move he says will be the best interest for the government. And if all sides are fortunate enough to meet, Wilson says based on what's at stake, there should be two main focus points.
Reputation of the sector, the institutions or the operators in the sector, the gaming board, all the stakeholders. And the other mantra is compliance.
Locally, the Bahamas Compliance Association is hoping, too, that government errs on the side of caution. Last night on Beyond the Headlines, President of BACA, Farida Sands, laid it out plainly.
There's absolutely no room for the regulated gaming houses to now become unregulated. It's the patrons that are going to move to what they know as unregulated businesses and gaming houses. Anytime, Clint, that you can't trace, track, monitor any transaction, then of course the money laundering comes into place. You could commingle money. You can do a lot of things. Fraud, a lot of illegal activities could come into place because there's no monitoring. Nobody knows what's going on. And because I don't know what's going on, we could reasonably assume that something illegal can be going on.
Sand says at this point it should not be about taxes, but the stabilization of the financial services sector, which cannot afford to risk being blacklisted again, having just come off of a blacklist in May.
With the possibility of blacklisting due to the gaming sector going back underground, it's tremendous. It's a tremendous pressure on the compliance professionals in the country. And so, of course, we want to get out front of that. We want to be ahead of that to make sure that whatever it is that we can do, we can ensure that we don't get back on that blacklist.
Clint Watson, Eyewitness News.
Well, Central and South Andros MP Picewell Forbes throwing his support behind gaming operators today in his contribution to the 2018-2019 budget. While he voted against the legalization of the gaming industry, Forbes said he now realizes the critical role gaming houses play, especially in the Family Islands. All right, it seems we don't have that clip for that story just yet. We'll try and bring you that later on in our newscast. But we are just getting started in Eyewitness News. When we come back, the tourism minister talks increased airlift. And later, the president of the BPSU sounding off on development issues. We've got the latest, but first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast. You are looking at live pictures outside our studios where the temperature is right around 78 degrees with an expected dip just slightly down to 77. This is Eyewitness News. Welcome back. Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest and Attorney General Senator Carl Bethel responding to the latest poll conducted by Public Domain, where 76% of persons surveyed are not in support of the proposed upcoming budget, as well as the increase in value-added tax from 7.5% to 12%. Both cabinet ministers said while the message may have gotten lost in translation, government has to make hard decisions in the best interest of the country.
Done, I think, a very good job in terms of trying to explain it in Parliament. Unfortunately, some people have not been able to hear that message, and we are going from in each constituency and holding town meetings and clarifying, addressing the concerns that Bahamians legitimately have about the budget, and we've had, quite frankly, very good response to once people were able to get the information directly rather than from these fake news and all of these WhatsApp things that are going around that are distorting the facts.
Sometimes in governance, you have to do what's right, not what's popular. We've reached a stage in the Bahamas fiscally in terms of where the government is in terms of its obligations. The fact that nearly $800 million has to be used to pay either mature debt or interest on old money borrowed decades ago sometimes. That's already been spent, $800 million. And when you look at the traditional sources of revenue, they are not enough to cover these obligations.
Well, aviation professionals from 28 Caribbean countries are gathering in the capital this week to discuss new ideas that can possibly lead to an increase in airlift to this region. The third annual Caribbean Aviation Meetup commenced Tuesday morning, and Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar brought the keynote address. Most interesting in his presentation today was the suggestion that government will soon begin pushing a new business model for Family Island airports to be upgraded and managed through public-private partnerships. The venture, he said, would ease the burden for government when it comes to airport management and would ensure that airport infrastructure throughout the Family Islands are no longer subpar.
We've got three major Family Island airports, Abaco, Exuma, and Northern Luther. And the government is spending $35 to $40 million on each one of these airports. And it's just unsustainable. And we have never introduced the concept of a passenger facility charge to help mitigate some of these costs. So the government, the only way that we see that we can bring a quality airport to these small small islands in the Bahamas, is to build a business model, go to the private sector, say to them, how can you help us? And this is the model.
Now, de Aguilar says he also has high hopes for the national flag carrier, which he says he hopes will soon consider more inter-island airlift. We posed the idea to Bahamas Air Chairman Tommy Turnquest, who says he likes it, but admits that it will be an uphill battle.
That's a huge challenge, particularly with rising fuel costs. Bahamas Air's structural costs are also very high, and so we're working on cost containment and cost reduction so that we can begin to reduce the cost, begin to reduce the reliance on government subvention to the state-owned enterprise of Bahamas Air, and then begin to bring the cost of travel itself down to the end user or the consumer.
Employees of the Security Department of the Ministry of Education have reportedly been locked out of their Claridge Road office. According to Bahamas Public Services Union President Kimsley Ferguson, due to failure to pay the rent, employees have been forced to sit in the lobby at the Ministry of Education on Thompson Boulevard until the issue is resolved.
Leaves them without a place to function from, and so we don't understand how the situation is going to be remedied. It is my understanding that this is the second incident where they would have been evicted from this building. And so we're going to seek to try to find out exactly what is happening and what is going to happen moving forward.
Well, Eyewitness News reached out to the Ministry of Education, which clarified that the Ministry of Public Service is actually responsible for accommodations. Now, the superintendent of the district, or the district superintendent, who also occupy the space, are said to be in the process of being moved to a permanent location. Well, coming up in sports, Randy Smith is off the top with the latest. Randy?
Continue some major news coming up in tennis. We have more in Eyewitness Sports. Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Smith, and welcome to Eyewitness News Sports. Leading off tonight, two of the country's top up-and-coming young tennis players will be in action this week at the International Tennis Federation's Canada Futures Tournament in Kelowna, Canada. Justin Roberts and Philip Major Jr. will compete in the week-long tournament against some of the top prospects from around the world.
I'm currently in the qualifying. Justin, congratulations to him getting into the main draw. Just gonna go out there and play and give it all.
I haven't been able to play in the last year because of my wrist injury. I had surgery in October, so just my first time getting back out there. I believe that I can do well. I want to go as far as I can, but I don't want to put too much pressure on myself just coming back because my first events, but I look to do well and give my best effort.
And in basketball news, Jonquil Jones continues to go through an adjustment period, working her way back into game shape after missing training camp. Along with conditioning, she's also adjusting to the team's new up-tempo style, which is centered on ball movement. Despite the changes, the Grand Bahama native said she's enjoying the Suns' hot start to the season.
I enjoy being out there with my teammates. I enjoy the system that we run because we're just able to, get so many shots up and we're able to tire teams out. I think you see it in the second half of games where we start to separate a good bit from our opponents because our bench is so deep and because of the style of play, like Coach was saying earlier. But it's been awesome. I enjoy playing in the system for sure.
Also in basketball news, Rashad Davis was named the Missouri State University Outstanding Basketball Student Athlete of the Year. The award goes to the student who not only played well on the basketball court but also excelled in academics. He received the award from Coach Chris Pop. And in track and field, Stephen Gardner, in an interview with Eyewitness Sports today, said it was a miscue and not an injury that contributed to an 8th place finish in the men's 200 in Sweden on Sunday. Gardner said he took a bad step on the curve and just couldn't recover. And according to the elite sprinter, he expects to be back in competition again this month. And keeping on the track and field beat, sprint hurler Devin Charlton is looking to build on her second place finish at the NCAA Outdoor Championships and taking that momentum through the major meets this summer.
I'd say it was a pretty shaky season. I had some ups, I had some downs. Really got used to running well by myself, and so when I was pressured by competition, wasn't used to it, and so sometimes I'd have a bad race because of it. But that's really what we focused on from regionals and coming into nationals, was just learn how to focus on my own race even when there's pressure around me. Now I just, go back to the drawing board, get ready for Bahamian Nationals. I'm gonna try the pro thing for a couple years, just to see how far I can go in the sport.
Well, that does it for us in sports. But stay tuned. Eyewitness News continues in a moment. I'm Randy Smith. Have a great evening.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
All right, we are still on that scene in Fox Hill, and we are being told now by police sources that the second shooting victim in that incident has died. Our team is still on the ground in Fox Hill, and we will perhaps get to that team later on in our broadcast tonight. But coming up and beyond the headlines with Clint Watson, former Tourism and Gaming Minister Obi Wilchcombe has his say on the 2018-2019 budget. Find out his views on increased taxes for lodging in the #1 industry, and also his take on the proposed tax increase for the gaming industry, which he spearheaded the regularization of. That's coming up and beyond the headlines with Clint Watson. That starts right after this. That does it for us on Eyewitness News. It's been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Kendino Knowles saying good night.